The test tomorrow covers all of Chapter 2. The test tomorrow will have 16 questions on it. And of those 16 questions, there are 2 proofs. You will have 1 algebra proof and 1 geometry proof. Now, for the algebra proof, you are writing the entire thing yourself. So when we go over the answers to the review that was this morning, it's going to be like questions 7, 8, and 9 in the review. And then 1 geometry proof, and this one will be partially filled in. So you'll have to fill in the missing information. This is from the homework that was due this morning. These were the questions in the review that was due this morning. So I'm going to show you this in a minute. But if you did question 7, 8, and 9, these were algebra problems that you had to solve. Okay. So the algebra proof, you're writing the whole thing yourself. The geometry proof will be partially filled in. The other 14 questions are going to be combination of multiple choice, free response, and true false. No, sometimes, always, or nevers. The test is on paper, so make sure you bring a pencil. So just like always, when you come in here, make sure you're ready to work. So let's go through the solution for the homework that was due this morning. Now, this is posted now. I posted this in the assignment, but I'm going to go through it question by question. So for questions 1 through 6, it's asking us to look at the diagram and decide whether you can determine and assume that it's true. So for the first one, it's saying that AB and that upside down T is the perpendicular sign. AB is perpendicular to M. Well, if I come over here and find where AB is, notice there is no right angle marking here, so this answer would be no. There is no right angle, so I cannot tell that AB is perpendicular to M. Then when I look at number 2, points F, G, and A are coplanar. F is located here, G is here, and A is here. This one I can conclude it because they are all in plane P. They are all coplanar. So number 2 is yes. Number 3, EC and G are all collinear. EC and G are all right here, and they are all connected and on the same straight line. So this one is also yes. Number 4, planes M and P intersect at BC. Well, plane M is right here. Plane P is right here. And yes, you can see their intersection is this line. So this one is also yes. Then number 5, it states that FA lies in plane P. Well, here's plane P. Let me do a different color here. And then here is FA. And this one, yes, it is true. Then the last one, number 6, FG intersects AB at point B. Well, FG is here. There's no line connecting it. And even though it may look like it would continue on, because there is no connection, this one would be no. Now, here's what I was talking about, questions 7, 8, and 9. These are going to be, I'm going to give you an algebra problem, and I'm going to ask you to solve it. Now, here it just said justify each step, but on the test tomorrow, it's going to state write a 2-column proof. So it'll specify that this is what you're doing with this algebra problem. So let me go ahead and show you the answers where it's all nice and neatly written. So let me go to the next. Now, for questions 10 and 11, be able to understand all of these vocabulary terms from section 2.1. Now, if then form, another word for that is conditional. And then know that how to write a converse from a conditional. That's where you reverse the order. Know the definition of inverse. That's when you're going to add in the word not or write the opposite. Contrapositive, you're going to flip it and negate it. And then the biconditional, you're going to add in the words if and only if. Now, on the test tomorrow, I'm not going to ask you to write all 5 things. I'm going to give you a conditional, and then I'm going to ask you to write the converse. Or maybe on a different version, it'll say, write the contrapositive. So different versions of the test are going to ask for different things. So here is the answers for number. So the original conditional that they created was if 2 planes intersect, then their intersection is a line. Then the converse, remember you're going to reverse it. And if 2 planes intersect in a line, then they are intersecting planes. And then the inverse, remember you add in the word not, but you keep it in the original conditional order. And that would be if 2 planes do not intersect, then they do not intersect in a line. And then the contrapositive, remember we reverse it and negate it. So if 2 planes do not intersect in a line, then they are not intersecting planes. And then the biconditional, remember you drop the word if, and then you're going to add in where the word then was, the words if and only if. And here are the sentences for number 11. So they're taking a rule that you learned in Algebra 1, that if a relation pairs each input with exactly 1 output, then the relation is a function. Then for the converse, you're going to reverse the order. Inverse, keep it the same conditional order, but add in not. And then contrapositive, flip and negate. And biconditional, add in if and only if. So here was the question, and I know it was whited out on yours. You need to know the law of detachment and the law of syllogism. Now this question number 14, I did not give you this one in this review, but it was on the other review. And it's in your warm-ups, it's in your notes, it's in your homework. So know both of these laws of logic, law of syllogism, and law of detachment, and how to apply them. Now, also be able to answer a question like number 15. This is actually an Algebra 1 skill where they ask you to solve for a variable versus trying to find the value of the variable. They just wanted you to rearrange this formula for area of a triangle and solve it for h. This is actually something that the Algebra 1 students just took a test on. It's in their chapter 1. So you did this last year in your algebra course. Usually the title of the lesson is like solving literal equations. But what they wanted you to do is take the formula area equals 1/2 base times height. And they wanted you to isolate and solve the formula for the h and get the h by itself. So let me go ahead and show you all of their steps of isolating h. It's on the next slide here. And here is number 7. Now, the way that you'll set up your 2 columns is all the work of solving it. Those are your statements. And then the reasons, we don't need to put the explanation. All you need to put here is number 1, you're going to write the problem. And then number 1's reason is going to be that it was given to you to solve. Then number 2, you're describing what you did from step 1 to step 2. And you don't have to show it. If it's better for you to show that you subtracted 3x for yourself, you don't have to show this. You can go right from here to here. And then all you have to put for your reason is subtraction property of equality. If you just put subtraction, I will accept that. You don't need to put POE or property of equality. Now, if you put the intermediate step and you showed the minus 3x and then you added in the extra step of simplify, you can do that as well. You're going to go ahead and set up your 2 columns, your statements, which will be all the work, and then the reasons. And again, you don't need to tell me the explanation. So from step 1 to 2, what they did was they distributed. So this is the distributive property. Number 1 was given. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then from step 2 to 3, what they did was they combined like terms. If you put add or addition, you would get it wrong. So what you need to either put here for the reason for number 3 is either combine like terms or simplify. If you put addition, it's wrong because you did not add the same number to both sides. All right, and then from step 3 to 4, what you did was they subtracted the 48, and that's how they got subtraction, property of equality. And then lastly, from step 4 to 5, they divided both sides by 6, and that's your division, property of equality. And again, if you just put division, that is acceptable. Number 9 is the same thing. It's going to be a 2-column proof solving the algebra problem. So again, this will change the statements and then just the reasons. And again, number 1 is given to you. It's the problem you're asked to solve. That's all you have to put is given. Then from step 1, from step 2 to step 3, what we did was we distributed from 1 to 2, distributed property. And then from 2 to 3, they combined like terms or they simplified. And then from step 3 to step 4, they added the 27, so addition, property of equality. And then the last step from 4 to 5, they divided by 2, so division, property of equality. So be able to write an algebra proof on the test tomorrow. So here is number 15 right here. And what they did first was isolate H. Then once you got H isolated, then they took the values in the problem. They had given you that the area equaled 558. And they also gave you in the problem the length, the base length, which was 36. So then you just took these numbers and you plugged it into the formula to get the H. Number 16, I know the answer is here, but I did white out that question. But I did give you number 17, and it was a proof. So number 17 is over here. And it was a picture of a bridge. And it said, given that angle 2 was congruent to angle 3, and that TV bisects UTW, it wants me to prove that angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. Well, anytime they give us information about something bisecting something or being a midpoint, you need to bring in that definition. And when something is bisected, and this is the angle they're referring to, angle UTW has been bisected by TV. So that tells me that angle 1 is going to be congruent to angle 2. I need to get that statement, angle 1 congruent to angle 2, in my proof, and my reason is going to be the definition of an angle bisector. And then from there, you can take that statement and bring it back up and join it with this one. And you can say that angle 1 is congruent to angle 3 by transitive. Because notice the angle 2's cancel out. And then you're left with just angle 3 congruent to angle 1. And that's what you were asked to prove. And that last reason could either be transitive or substitution. Like I said on Friday, both of these review assignments, the one that was due today as well as the one that was due Friday, did not have any questions in the review where you had to solve for X or Y. But be able to do that. You did that in the 2-6 homework. When you did questions 5 and 6 in the 2-6 homework, you had to use your knowledge of vertical angles and when something's a linear pair. So on the worksheet that I have posted now, that is on your to-do list. However, you do not need to turn it in. It is there for you to use to study. It has the answers in it. It does have some practice problems where you're finding the value of a variable. And let me go ahead and show you what those two worksheets look like. And again, these are on Canvas and they are on your to-do list. So on this first one from section 2.5, be able to name a property when you're given a statement. Again, no word banks here, so it's your job to remember everything. Then examples 3, 4, and 5, and 6 here, these are all going to be proofs. So if you need practice of proofs, work these out. Then after this next page, the following page after that has the answers. Now, here is some examples again, where more proofs here on the second page. So if you need to practice proofs, try to write them yourself, but if you get stuck on the next page, here are all the 2-column proofs that you can see the answers for. Now, chances of you getting something as long as number 6 or number 3 here, probably not so much. The beginning proofs that we're going to give you on the test are going to be kind of short. But again, they're partially filled in proofs. So let's say number 1 here from the 2.5b, let's say this was your question on the test. So what you're going to get is maybe this would be left blank and you'd have to fill it in. Or on this one, maybe I don't give you the statement, but I give you the reason. And then maybe on this one, I give you the statement, but I don't give you the reason. And then you have to fill in whatever is missing. So I'm going to give you either a statement and then the reason will be missing, or I give you the reason and you have to come up with the statement. So again, it'll be a partially filled in proof that you have to fill in the blanks for. And again, don't just say, I have no clue. Try it. It might be something as obvious as given, or it might be as obvious as the last statement, which is something you're trying to prove. So give it your best shot. It may be easier than you imagine. So on the next page, after the answers, here are some practice problems for section 2.6. Notice questions 3 and 4 here. This is where you're going to use your knowledge of vertical angles, or maybe even a linear pair. It all depends on where the variable that you're solving for is located. So for example, on number 3, notice if I want to find the value of x, my x variables are included in these 2 angles. Notice these 2 angles that I just highlighted are vertical angles. So to find the value of x, you would set 4 times x plus 6 equal to 5x plus 11, and then solve for x. Same thing for the y on this case. Now, let's say in number 4, let's say this 5y was a 5x. If I needed to solve for x, I could use the fact that these 2 angles here are a linear pair. And I could have added them and set them equal to 180. So be able to apply your knowledge and your definitions in order to set up your algebraic equations for these. Now, if you look at number 5, this could be a test question because look, it's a partially filled in proof. So this is what your question on the test is going to look like, where you're going to have a bunch of blanks that you need to fill in. And again, this worksheet is on Canvas, and then there's a second one. Now remember, even though this question here is a flowchart proof, you could still turn it into a 2-column proof, because remember what's in the boxes, these would have been all your statements. And then what's below it are going to be all the reasons. So you could still turn this into a 2-column proof by taking, after it's filled in the flowchart, turn it into just 2 columns. Same thing if it said to write a paragraph proof. So when you go to look at the answers for this are written as the flowchart, and then they've got it as a paragraph. But again, you can take this and all the boxes become the statements, and all the writing underneath the box becomes the reasons. So this worksheet here, 2.5a, 2.5b, 2.6a, 2.6b, this is an optional assignment, but for anybody who's looking for additional practice, here's some more practice problems. In addition to all of these reviews that I've given you, remember you also have your Big Ideas resources. You can always go to the Big Ideas website. You can go back. I've been giving you even problems. You can always go back and work out the odds on any topics that you need to practice some more. Okay, also on Canvas, I have posted, so, go back through everything. Don't focus just on the reviews that I give you. Go back through, review your warm-ups, review your notes, review your homework. You can go back into Big Ideas and you can go back and look at the questions. It doesn't lock you out. Once you find the assignment, there's a little plus sign on the side. You can click on that plus sign and then it'll open up the assignment and you can see the questions again. So your only homework tonight is to study. You don't have anything to submit to Canvas. Still no calculator yet. So we're doing all our calculations without a calculator. And honestly, there's not too much calculations on this test. A lot of it is memorization. Now, also on Canvas, I posted a Quizlet to help you with the vocab and all the terms. And then there's also a Kahoot that I posted a link for, which has also a lot of the vocab. So you have lots of resources that you can use to get you ready for tomorrow. Okay, so come in, ready to work. Make sure your pencils are sharpened. And again, if you need to use the restroom, use the restroom, because you can't leave the classroom once you start the test.